Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now December 21st of 2024, and given that the entire media and the Hollywood film industry is now in complete freefall mode, we know one thing about this is that we know that there's a lot of actors, actresses, producers, directors, writers, etc., really going into full-on panic mode, and are really pretty much attacking the general public. They are playing the blame game yet again toward everybody at all possible. We know that one thing in particular happening right now is the fact that we know that there are those out there like Alec Baldwin, George Clooney, and many others that are really trying to really save their reputation, if you even want to say that they have a reputation to begin with, in a very good way at all, which is really just completely invalid. One thing about George Clooney and Alec Baldwin that we find very similar is the fact that they are constantly pointing the finger at the people, that they are the ones that are the toxic ones, and that they are the ones that are in the right. Now, focusing on Alec Baldwin, there's been a lot of things going on with him, and we're going to talk a lot about that today. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So one thing about Alec Baldwin is that we know that he is by far one of the most insufferable actors within Hollywood right now, especially after the comments that he made about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago maximum, where he kept on going on over that trope of saying how pretty much the large portion of the United States, the people that live in it, are misinformed and uneducated. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't do the proper research, yada yada yada. And, well, basically he said something even worse that I think really dethrones that overall statement, that overall series of comments. What's interesting here, however, is that with the entire media and all of Hollywood now in freefall mode, those within the film industry are beginning to double down on their agenda as a desperate response since November the 5th. Now, one monumental development going on now involves more to do with Alec Baldwin, where he once again attacked the general public in the most absurd way possible. Alec delivered the following recently in a state of anger. Look, as a guy who is proud to call himself a feminist, I think that we need to see a new age of how society looks at and defines masculinity, because what we are trying to sell, of course, in 2024, that's what we were trying to do. It should have worked, but it did not. We needed to put toxic masculinity in the trash once and for all, and I think after the results that we got from, unfortunately, so many people in this country for this year's cycle, it shows that toxic masculinity is strong and resilient, and that frightens me. It really does. It scares me for our children and our children's children, and how they are going to define men in the years ahead of them. This goes back to why I openly made it clear that we are dealing with a crisis in the States right now, where there are so many uneducated and misinformed people out there, mostly young adults ranging from 18 to 35, and I don't have any hope for them anymore. I just don't. There's just no hope left stored in them to run our country for the better. What we need to do is next cycle in 28, we need to really focus on what it means to be a man and how important that is, because we are the providers, and that way of being a man needs to stay relevant. What I find offensive right now of what's been going on out there is so much to blame going around right now toward people like me who are in the public eye as if I'm responsible for the election results. I didn't say a word on that, so don't point the finger at me, point it at somebody else. Many of my peers in this industry are also so upset by these results on just how stupid so many people can be and how they want to live for the next 4 years. I will just never understand it. As an actor, it's my job to not just act, but to also understand how people function and how society runs. So guys, let me just say one thing about Alec Baldwin, and I've said this before about many of these actors. I think that they need to just shut up and just do their job and act and not engage in politics at all, period. The minute you engage in politics, whether you're a musician, a producer, a director, a writer, an actor, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, whether it's in show business or anything in the public eye like that, and you drag politics into it, you're just alienating a large base of your audience at that point in time, especially when you're making invalid comments that really make absolutely no sense. Now, he's going on this constant trope about toxic masculinity this and toxic masculinity that, and we've all heard this before from all of the politicians, right, in the past couple of months. I mean, they kept going on about that train. But what's interesting about this, yet again, is that Alec Baldwin is now serving as the voice of that. He calls himself a feminist. He calls himself one that's trying to defend what it means to be a man, what it means to be masculine, and how he wants to throw toxic masculinity in the trash. But here's the kicker. What he means by toxic masculinity is that he's talking about those that are willing to stand up and raise their opinion and to be very loud about it, to be very transparent about it. According to him, that's what toxic masculinity is. That's what he has a problem with. People throwing out their opinion into, of course, the public and making that known. And I think that's basically just his way of coping with the fact that a large portion of the states really made their opinion very, very clear and very much widely accepted. So to top things off, he goes on to conclude, that's what makes being an actor so brilliant, is that you have to study everything of everything and how this world works. And the regular people doing their everyday jobs, I will continue to act, I have no shame in it, and I will never give up, no matter how many want me out of this business. But one thing I will say is that people are believing in false promises from the other side. In a couple of months, come back to me and you will say I was right. But yeah, toxic masculinity is my #1 issue right now in this country. That's the one thing that we need to topple. We need more respectful men engaged in everyday jobs and doing what's right for the people. It's in my best interest to challenge this horrible trend that is now becoming the norm for men to favor and express misogyny and sexism, and as a feminist, I take offense to that. So there you go again. I mean, he's going on this trope about how a lot of men in this country, pretty much he's saying that the majority of men engage in sexism and misogyny. Complete lie, complete fake narrative coming from Alec Baldwin. He's the one that likes to say that there's false promises and false narratives being thrown around. He's doing that very thing right now. So again, like I've said before in the past, this really is not a big shocker that we have people like George Clooney, who once said that you should not trust your neighbor or anybody within your social circle. You should look up to celebrities because they go by a rule. Makes no sense to me at all. And you have people like Alec Baldwin saying stuff like this, that toxic masculinity is a very big problem right now that needs to be distinguished, and they need to redefine what it means to be a man. And that was pretty much, you know, what they were trying to sell, like he said in 2024. That's one thing he actually said there. Makes zero sense, and I think that this is 100% their way, or even his way of coping with the fact, like I said before, of really trying to, deal with the facts that there's so many, an overwhelming amount of people for them that are really sharing their same opinions right now and how accepted they really are. But overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about this ongoing situation with Alec Baldwin and how the backlash is now continuing to grow for him, surprisingly. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.